Hello, everyone. Big Al back here with you again for another rendition of Forestcraft. Cozy and creepy. Last time we completed our little spawn camp here, and so we are back again to see what else we can find in this world. And I have gone ahead and made the decision to find a bigger dappled forest biome. As cool as this one is, and I enjoyed building this little camp, I want something that's a little bit bigger with this dappled forest vibe. So I went ahead and put this world seed into a map, and I found a larger dappled forest biome in this world, a little bit farther away. I think it actually promises to be pretty cool all around. It's a larger dappled forest, first and foremost, but it's also kind of an area that seems to be a collision of different biomes. Has a little bit of cherry blossom forest mixed in, and it's also kind of in between some snowy mountains as well. So, all around, it promises to be a cool area. And so now we are leaving our camp to navigate our way to our larger dappled forest. And I definitely have a few ideas of what we can do once we arrive. I think essentially what would be kind of cool is to build kind of like a forest village, play into the forest craft title that I've kind of given this new series. I think we'll start with a larger house for myself once we arrive. I want to say mansion. I don't think it's going to be quite mansion size, but it'll definitely be larger than our camp here at Spawn. But first, we have to navigate our way there, and knowing myself, I'll probably get distracted along the way. I might even get a little turned around from the exact coordinates that I'm trying to navigate to, but we will make it, and we will find our larger dappled forest. And as you can see, I'm already getting a little distracted with this structure over here. Very intriguing the way that the world generated this. I don't think I've quite seen anything like it. And it's actually another little tiny dappled forest. This obviously was not the one I'm looking for, as it's pretty small, but it's very, very interesting. It's got these little, I don't know what you want to call them, little spatterings of dappled forest kind of mixed in with these interesting stone land structures. I'm not sure exactly what biome those belong to. But yeah, I just thought those are interesting. And especially how it's just kind of little pockets of dappled forest mixed in with it. It's kind of funny. And there's a broken portal down there as well. Just noticed that on the rewatch. Yeah, very interesting. There's even some like random blocks just like floating in the sky there. Has to be some strange world generation because this is not a multiplayer world. I'm the only one here thus far. Unless have stumbled upon a there's a house in my world I didn't build type situation. This is an official version of Minecraft, so that's not likely. Alright, distractions aside, let's try to get back on course and find the actual forest that I'm looking for. But yeah, those little rock formations are very interesting. Hadn't really come across anything like that that I can remember. And don't mind me getting distracted again, because I spied what looks like one of those woodland mansion structures. I actually came across one of those in my survival world from my Chill Minecraft Study 2 series off camera before I started filming for that series at all, actually, before I started any recording for it. And very quickly got myself handed to me. So have not actually visited one of those since. So maybe if once I get a little bit better gear and enchantments in my survival world, I will go back and visit that woodland mansion. But I didn't really want to spoil it any further in this creative playthrough, so I just kind of looked at it and moved on and continued my journey to find our larger dappled forest. But I am actually seeing some cool things as we fly around. Like this plateau here, thought that was interesting. That's kind of the fun part of playing in creative mode, is just flying around and seeing what you can find out there in the world. And it looks like we've arrived at our intended destination. This is our larger dappled forest. As you can see, it's significantly larger in size with our reds, yellows, and oranges on our poplar trees. And you can see how it kind of mixes in with the cherry blossom forest there. I thought that was really cool. But I think this is going to be not only a spot with just good vibes, but I think it's going to be somewhere where we'll have a lot of good space to build, some interesting terrain. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm already having some ideas. A woodland village. And one of the benefits of doing this in creative mode as well, besides, not having to gather resources, is the obvious one, but is when you're playing in survival mode, the forests can be fairly treacherous to build in, especially when you're first starting out, and even after, just because so many mobs spawn in there. Even when you already have some good gear and everything built up, you're still going to be pretty regularly fighting off mobs, when you're just trying to go about your daily activities. So in creative mode, the hostile mobs especially don't even really bother you. Kind of gives you a little bit more freedom to build in some interesting places that you might otherwise kind of avoid building in if you're doing a survival playthrough, especially if you're playing on hardcore. And again, that might just be me. I'm probably more cautious than the average player. But yeah, just kind of getting a feel for this area, kind of taking in the forest, seeing what the terrain looks like, and you can also see how the snowy mountain is there. And then look, we have a pillager outpost. Would probably be a larger problem if I was in survival, because again, they're not really going to do anything to me. But if I do want to turn this into a woodland village, that they may not be the best neighbors to have around. So we might have to take care of them at some point. Maybe take over their tower. We shall see. For now, I will leave them alone after rummaging through a few of their possessions. See what they got. Great view from up here at their tower, though, I must say. They picked a good spot. You can really get a good view of the dappled forest as it mixes in with the cherry blossom forest. I thought that was really cool. Kind of an interesting juxtaposition with the summery vibes of the cherry blossom forest, and then the obviously fall, autumn vibes of the dappled. So I definitely spend a fair amount of time just kind of taking in the overall feel of this forest. Come across a sheep, and he stares at me. I'm not sure what his intentions are yet. We'll circle back to him. This is a great area. I'm actually very glad that I decided to move to a larger forest area. This one's very cool with the way that the biomes kind of mix together. It's next to this, what do they call this biome? Is it ice garden? Can't remember. But I love how it has the snowy mountains that kind of blend into the dappled forest that then kind of blends into the cherry blossom forest, and it all just kind of mixes together for a very, very cool and unique area. I love those ice towers. And I think it's exactly the kind of vibe that we are looking for a forest craft series. I didn't really totally have a hard theme in mind or even a specific meaning behind that name. I just kind of knew that I wanted to build some cool stuff in the forest, and that tends to prove difficult in survival. And I thought we could have some fun with that in creative mode. So after taking in the ambiance a little bit, I say it's time that we see what we can put together in this forest. Taking a little bit of extra time to decide exactly where I want to build in this forest. So it's very cool, and I do love how unique the terrain is, and it's obviously not flat, and we're probably going to have to build into it a little bit to a degree. So essentially, I'm kind of deciding if I want to build into the cliff, kind of like I did with the spawn camp, or if I want to build into the trees, into the forest itself for my first structure, which is going to be basically my house. Is what I'm going to start out with, a larger house. And then we'll see how long that takes, how much work and detail I want to put into that. And then we can move on to essentially designing out like a forest village, maybe even a city someday. We'll see. But I think the thought process is going to be to try not to disturb the trees as much as possible. We might have to trim some of the leaves back and maybe have to take down a whole tree, hopefully not, but I really want to preserve the forest as much as possible and kind of work that into the look and visual language of the village itself. because I just really like these poplar trees. Really taken a liking to the Dappled Forest. I sincerely hope this becomes an official release, you know, since it's just in snapshot right now. It's pretty cool. I think in particular I really like the red poplar trees a lot. But yeah, we're gonna try and build a cool forest village here. So ultimately I decide on building actually into the forest instead of into the cliffside initially. Starting with a little bit more flat ground to kind of give myself good space for my house here. But we will definitely revisit building directly into the cliffside for our village. There's a lot that we can do with this space, and it just looks so cool. And I know, like, you know, I've been watching the librarian's creative Let's Play series. His kind of, it's also kind of like a, what he calls it, comfy, creepy, or whatever variation he uses, but he used a lot of mod packs in his video to get his world kind of in this kind of vibe. So it is kind of cool that they're trying to capture something like that without mods and like an official release. You know, mods on Java kind of escape me still. I've played around with trying to install them, and it just never seems to work out the way that it's supposed to. So I'll definitely have to try and learn mods on Java. I had explored the marketplace on Bedrock Edition a fair amount, and there's a lot of cool add-ons there that I think a lot of them even start out as just mods, you know, in the community before they probably get approved through the official process to get on the marketplace. But, you know, installing those are easy. You just click and boom, there it is. But installing the mods on Java Edition is just a little bit more of a process that I haven't fully grasped yet. So maybe soon I can start playing around with adding different things from the modding community as far as Java is concerned and get even cooler vibes in this series. But for now, the Dappled Forest is the exact vibe that I am going for as far as this village, this forest village that I want to build. There's just something about fall and autumn. It's just always been my favorite time of year. You know, I live in Texas, so that's time of year where it starts to become more bearable to be outside longer term. It's also not blistering cold from the winter yet. For nostalgic and personal reasons, it's also the time of year that I first met my wife. That's when we started dating a long time ago. So it does have some sentimental value as well. just fall and autumn. Some of my favorite. So you give me a biome that captures that feeling of that time of year, and I'm sold. Count me in. Laying down the foundation for my house here. Again, going with my somewhat chaotic and free-flowing build style. I did not plan this out. I do not really have a set vision in my head for what I want the house to look like, or even have even the general shape. I just know I want it to be larger. And I think at this point I did kind of have an idea that I wanted it to be a 2-story house. Maybe mansion style, but not quite the size of a mansion, of course. But yeah, you're just going to be along for the ride with my chaotic building, and maybe some people will have opinions on that if they see this, but you know, some people like to extensively plan out their builds, and other people like me, sometimes you just got to wing it and see what you can come up with. It's kind of like the equivalent of an artist who is very meticulously planning out a like a painting or a portrait versus sketching in a sketchbook or just kind of blindly painting. And what you just witnessed there was me trying to determine if there was a special kind of soil or dirt for this biome, and then eventually realizing that this is just the color of the normal grass here, and if I just put down the dirt, the grass should just grow over it in the intended color. Why did that take so much time? I couldn't tell you. I second guessed myself. I don't know much about Minecraft as other people off the top of my head. It takes me a minute to recall the knowledge, and I'm still learning. So again, if you are new or haven't watched any of the other videos that I've posted on this channel, for all intents and purposes, I'm fairly new to Minecraft, especially Java Edition specifically. I've never completed a full survival playthrough, although I am trying to do that with my other series, Chill Minecraft to Study To, although at a pretty relaxed pace, definitely not in a rush. But I'm trying to learn more about Minecraft. I'm trying to see everything that it has to offer. And I've always loved the creative mode because I do love being able to build with any resource at my disposal. but I do also see the value of survival mode as well. I will be completing that playthrough. But in the meantime, why not have some fun with creative mode and build something cool in a biome that reflects my favorite time of year? And so then, for whatever reason, the idea struck me to kind of blend together the warped wood and the poplar wood. I've always really liked the warped wood. I love the color scheme. And again, I do also want to incorporate the poplar wood as much as possible, since that's the local trees. And if we were thinking in like a role play sense, or if we were in survival mode, for example, if you found yourself in this biome and needed to build yourself some shelter, you would naturally be using the wood that is around you. But also, again, since we are in a creative mode and I do have access to any type of wood that I want, I thought it would be kind of fun to mix the two together in kind of like a layered situation that you'll see come together here. And I think it'll look pretty cool. And hey, you're probably watching this maybe thinking like, what the hell is he doing with this shape? And I couldn't tell you. I'm just letting it flow. I'm just seeing what comes together. I didn't really, again, plan this out. I think what I find myself thinking when I create buildings that look like this is that I just didn't want it to be a normal box or a rectangle. But I didn't also plan out a specific special shape or design. So this is what kind of happens. Kind of like a mixture Frankenstein that doesn't really look intentional, but it's probably going to look pretty cool. At least it'll look cool to me. We can call it abstract architecture. How about that? Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see it come all together because I think the blending of the wood is going to be interesting. Again, very another non-traditional choice, maybe, at least from what I've seen. I don't think you would immediately think to blend the poplar with the warped wood specifically, but I think the contrast is going to look pretty cool. And I just like it. I like the colors and I want to use them. So we're going to see what happens and how it looks. Our first build in this larger dappled forest that will soon become the home of a village. A home-built village, not even a generated one. Will I go through the trouble of adding villagers? Maybe. We'll see. Who knows what I'm going to do with this world. First, I'm going to build it out. I was thinking earlier about the interesting differences between your mindset when you're playing creative mode versus survival mode. It's just kind of interesting, when you're in survival mode, you are more of an active participant in the world and beholden to the dangers and the setbacks of that. Obviously, you have to gather resources to build anything, to progress further. You don't have the ability to fly naturally. And hostile mobs will attack you, assuming you're not playing in peaceful mode. But when you're playing a creative playthrough, you're kind of like a almost like a godlike being. You're definitely not an active participant in the world. You are directly influencing it and the hostile mobs can't harm you, and for the most part aren't even interested in you. I just thought that was interesting. The different mindsets you can have and how you can approach the two different modes, because I think me and maybe other people, and in fact, I've seen people comment this specifically, maybe find yourself thinking like, what's the point of playing survival? Or what's the point of playing creative? Creative mode takes away all the fun of survival. Survival mode restricts the fun of creative. But I think it's just all on how you think about it. For example, if you want to rationalize why you would play one or the other or even both, like I'm doing, is that if you want to be an active participant in the world and you want a challenge and you want to feel the satisfaction of something being built as the result of hard work, you should play survival mode. But if you want to be a godlike being that's bending the world to your whim and shaping it on a whim even, then you play creative and let your mind kind of flow a little bit and just see what you can build. Or even just use it to explore a cool world, see what interesting structures you come across or land formations, There's lots of different reasons to play both modes, and I don't think one is better than the other necessarily. And I think we're going to build some cool stuff in this forest. And I just gotta say, when the music is coming in like this, and it's nighttime in the Dappled Forest, and it's raining, wow. Chef's kiss. I mean, that is just... It's just ambiance that not many other games can create. Something about Minecraft and the emotions it's able to evoke as you're just simply placing blocks. I love things that are, maybe it was intentional or not, but I love things that are just poetic when you don't expect them to be. I think this game does that a lot for sure. As you can see, we're having to trim the trees a bit, but again, my kind of design philosophy with any build in this forest is to build into it and become a part of it, not so much shape the forest to our will, but accommodate for the forest and kind of build around it or in it. And again, that doesn't mean we won't be trimming the leaves as we're doing now, but I think what I'm really going to try to avoid doing is taking down a tree entirely. Maybe that'll be some of the challenges that I present myself, as a few restrictions on how I can build. And specifically, I just really love the red ones, so I even with only doing some of the leaves, I'm sad to take them away. With this being creative mode, I do have access to saplings, and of course bone meal. So I could always just grow some more if I do need to take one down. But I am going to try to avoid doing that as much as possible. And keep it the natural generation of the forest. The house is coming together. And I did pretty much decide that it's going to be 2-story. Because why not? It's my house. I'm the first one here. I'm founding this village. So I can have the larger house. The 2-story house. Who knows? There'll probably be some other multi-story buildings here. After I finish with this one, I'll probably... It might not even be in this same episode, of course, depending on how long this takes. But I'll probably build some other smaller houses first, and then maybe I'll attempt to build a larger apartment building. Accommodate multiple residents, in addition to the single homes. Who knows? There's a lot we could do with this, and I'm not even really the best builder. I don't know if I'll be able to fully execute what I have in my head, or even what I'm inspired by when I see other people kind of build little towns and villages in Minecraft, and especially larger cities. For example, if you saw the first video in my other series that I kind of started on this channel called Creative Detours, I explored a world/map, whatever you want to call them, called Metcalf City. It was a huge, expansive city, very detailed, and the creator of that world actually commented on the video and told me that it was heavily, if I remember correctly, to go back and look at the comment, that it was heavily inspired by Philadelphia. So not only did he build a realistic and very cool city, but he was able to effectively mimic a real-life city. Very impressively, I might add. So go check out my video if you want to see that map. Creative Detours. It's on my channel. And I did link the world itself in that video as well, so if you want to explore Metcalf City yourself, you definitely can. It was very cool. I barely scratched the surface with that one. It was so big. I definitely was in there over an hour, and it actually played it 2 different times while recording that video. So I did not see everything, so it's big. And maybe one day I'll build something on that level. I'm sure that with some of those creators, they're probably using World Edit and other tools like that, with the particularly bigger ones. But one thing I'd like to do with this creative Let's Play is to challenge myself with the building and to learn a little bit. Maybe learn how to plan things out, how other people do it. Learn some different styles with building in Minecraft that I don't know yet, or haven't attempted before. So it's going to be fun, regardless of what we get into. And I do love that so far the game has supplied the pretty much exact cozy and creepy vibes that I've been looking for with this playthrough. And the mixture of them, it's the music that it has chosen, the fact that there's been some good weather at nighttime, and again, we are in the forest, and we have those zombies kind of spawning around us, the spiders kind of providing some creepy background noise. I just think it's all coming together nicely. I know it's not even Halloween yet. We're not even near Halloween technically, but there's just something about autumn and fall. Ooh, a little jump scare there with that spider. Get out of here. We even got a little jump scare. We're just hitting all the boxes, checking them all off. I think this house is coming together nicely. I think the finished product will definitely be unique. I don't think I set myself up for success with the roof. I think I gave myself a challenge with that again, with the shape that I landed on, but that's part of the fun. I think I am going to attempt what I would call slightly more complex kind of roof, but I'm not even going to go with the exact same style that I did as with the spawn camp, that first thing that I built. I'm going to mix it up just a little bit, but I do want it to have some layers. I think it's going to be cool. I am trying to be very careful too with what and how much I trim off the trees here, especially these red poplar trees. I think they're my favorite so far in this biome. Because again, I wanted to kind of have this feeling of being built into the forest, almost like it's a part of it, not that we forced our way in here and cut down trees and stuff like that. I want it to be kind of all blended together, so to speak. And not so much that it's like literally built into the tree, but I'm not going to be knocking down this tree just because it's right up against it, you know. I'm trying to kind of trim the leaves out of the house ever so slowly, but I still want it to be incorporated into it. Now it's time we put down the floor and make it a true two-story house. As you can see, I went for the poplar planks for the bottom floor there, but I'm going to go with the warped planks for the top floor here because I think it's, again, kind of give that layered feeling to the house with the different types of materials we're using to build it. And I really like the color of this, of the warped wood. Well, I didn't intend to kill this spider, but I guess it's good that it's out of my way now. You know, sometimes it happens. I don't know why he was trying to get in my house so badly. Again, he wasn't going to really attack me because this is creative mode, but he was in my way. Well, so far, our first build and our future forest village is coming together quite nicely. I am very happy with the progress we're making so far. Don't know why I keep doing that, but hey, we'll be okay, because you can just place it right back. The perks of playing in creative mode. Oh yeah, that was from the spider that I took out. And now comes the time to connect our floors with a nice staircase. All around, I'm pretty excited for the potential that this forest offers us, as I've already kind of talked about. I think I have some longer term plans to essentially build out a forest village. It's kind of what I've officially decided on. I know I kind of mentioned it a few times already, but I think that would be really fun. And then the question remains is if I will choose to populate that myself with villagers, or if we can kind of leave it open for something else in the future. And then once we get our 2 floors connected here, I will move on to the roof. And just like I did with my first little build in this world, our spawn camp, I will try to do at least for my skill set anyways, a slightly more advanced style of roof. And I don't think I did myself much favors again with the shape of the building, so there could be some live editing and some wonkiness with the placement, but I think we will make it through. And we will end up with a very unique and interesting house as our first official building in this village. And I briefly consider kind of doing this method of leaving the stairs kind of like this, because I've definitely seen people do it, but I don't know if that's the aesthetically pleasing to me. I kind of want to turn it into a cooler design. And I think another thing I'd like to maybe do more long term, and this is quite an ambitious project, but significantly easier to accomplish in creative mode, is everywhere that we build something, I'd like to eventually connect all of them. Even possibly connecting that first camp that I built in the spawn forest to this one. And in the past, my go-to method of doing that, of connecting everything, has been usually a massive bridge. I don't know if we'll do that in this case. Maybe, I don't remember if there was too much water we actually had to cross, so you might actually be able to even connect them with just an actual trail. It's quite a good distance, but I think that would be cool to have like an actual walkable trail or bridge. Even though we are in creative mode and we can fly, I just think that'd be cool from a world perspective. Or if I ever did eventually turn this into a world that I play with others, that would be really fun for the survival aspect as well. To have just massive walkable paths or bridges that connect multiple villages, especially one that I built myself. think that's on my mind because I was recently playing with a friend of mine on his Minecraft world and building something in it while I was there. And we discussed connecting the village that I started building in to his main area that he's been building in with a massive bridge. And that got me thinking about this world that I'm working on here. Now I've already kind of started builds in separate locations at this point, and I think it would be cool to connect them. Yeah, I like the design that I ended up with on the stairs here, with kind of like the holes in it. I don't know, I've always kind of liked that. But yeah, that would be another long-term goal I think I would have for this world, is to connect everything with some sort of path or bridge. It'll be fun to accomplish as well. Now let's light this place up a little bit. Clear out a few more of these leaves and begin working on a roof for this house. And again, I definitely didn't make it easy on myself with the shape of this building, but that just lends to us to just allows us to be able to make some creative decisions with how this roof is actually going to end up looking. Of course, we'll have to bring up the height a little bit, give us a little bit more space to work with, because I'm definitely going to create another one of those more arched ceilings with some layers with the stairs, of course. Because again, I think I'm consistently going to try and do things that I feel like I wouldn't normally do with my building decisions. Especially when it comes to the shape of the house and the roof, for better or for worse, in regards to the shape of the house. It doesn't always make it easy to form the roof, but again, that's kind of part of the fun sometimes. And I hate to really be clearing out so much of this red tree specifically, because like I mentioned, that is my favorite so far of these poplar trees, but I think I have a little system worked out here where, again, because the thought thought process with building and so far is going to be to build into the forest, not so much remove the forest for my purposes, but to build into it and around it. So I think having this tree still essentially be a part of the house is going to end up looking really cool, even if it's challenging to work around the leaves at this exact moment. And yeah, if you can't already tell, not the easiest shape to form the style of roof that I'm going for around. So we will have to make some interesting and creative decisions to kind of make this work. But the benefit of me recording the audio portion of this after the fact is that I know that I do pull this together and end up with something pretty cool. So hopefully no one's judging me too much. Again, I am not the world's most experienced builder in Minecraft. I'm still learning. And I'd obviously, as I've mentioned a few times, did not really plan this out ahead of time. Kind of going based off of instinct, if you will, of just whatever I feel looks good. And then when it comes to situations like this, where for whatever reason I came up with a wonky building shape here, I'm just gonna do some trial and error to figure it out and get a cool looking roof together. So we shall see what the end result looks like, and of course it'll be up to your own opinion on whether you like it or not, but so far, whenever I build in this manner, I'm usually still pretty happy with the end result, even if it's not exactly what I pictured or had an idea of. See, it's really these diagonal portions right here, because When I'm building the house, I think like, oh, I don't want it just to be a boring box shape. I want it to have a unique shape. And then when it comes time to put a roof on it, I'm like, how the hell do I form a roof around my unique shape that I just created for this building? But again, little challenges are fun, especially in creative mode where you have to find different kinds of challenges to keep the gameplay going. Your building decisions, little bumps in the road when it comes to the building. It's all part of the fun and the creative process. And to be honest, I couldn't really tell you where my head was at with that one. Not sure what I was trying to accomplish exactly. But again, we're just trying to work with this odd shape that I came up with. And I think after a few tries, I figure out a good way to connect it in a way that makes sense. Again, as I'm learning about all the different various building techniques in Minecraft, I'm doing live trial and error on a lot of my builds, figuring out what I think would look good and just exactly how to get the blocks to position themselves in the way that I want them to. Especially when it comes to the stairs, because I love the way that they all blend together like that, but sometimes the shapes and the directions just don't line up no matter what you do. And the leaves on these trees continue to cause interesting little hiccups in the process of laying down the blocks, but again, that's okay because I'm trying to build into this forest. I'm not trying to tear it down. I honestly want to preserve as much of the trees as possible and probably throw down some saplings if I do have to take down any of the trees, like I already mentioned, because I really want to preserve the autumn and fall vibes as much as possible. I don't know what you might be thinking, or not, that the warped stem, the warped wood, was a weird, kind of interesting choice as it kind of contrasts with the color scheme of the dappled forest. But I kind of liked that. Kind of liked how the colors of the warp stem flash a little bit with the poplar wood. And again, the overall vibe that I'm going for is, of course, cozy, but a little bit of creepy as well. And the warp stem, the warped wood, just kind of, to me, at least for this particular part of the build, matched that aesthetic. You know, it's just kind of slightly creepy and off-putting. Doesn't really belong there. Definitely has a supernatural vibe to it that I think will work perfectly with what we're going for here. And now that I've got the base kind of foundation of the roof laid down, it's definitely going to be easier to build up the layers here. And I've been really digging this style of roof, kind of layering up the stair blocks. I've been really enjoying that. I think I already mentioned earlier in the video, but and maybe in my other videos as well, but I typically have been, up until this point, been pretty simplistic with my roof designs. You can even see that in the beginning stages of my other series, Chill Minecraft to Study To. But lately, after watching a lot of other YouTube creators and how the decisions they make with their builds, I decided to attempt this. For whatever reason, I just never attempted it before. Not sure if I thought that I wouldn't be able to execute it or what, but now that I have experimented with the style a few times, I think I'm getting fairly decent at it, and I really enjoy the end result of the kind of layered roof. And I also enjoy that the ceilings are so high and doesn't make the house feel quite as small. So I think the end result of this roof, even with the wonky shape of the building, is honestly going to look really cool. Recently, a lot of what I've been seeing as well, kind of surrounding these new updates in this snapshot release, specifically pertaining to the cushions, which I played around with a little bit in the first episode of this Forest Craft series. I've been seeing that there's a lot of versatility and a lot of ways that you can incorporate the cushions into some of your builds. You know, not even just as a cushion. Obviously has a lot of function to it. You know, whether they intended that or not. But the color options apparently are allowing people to create some pretty interesting designs with roofs. I didn't attempt that for this particular roof, but maybe as we expand out into the forest and start building out the other houses in the village, we'll play around with working cushions in some more creative ways. Seeing if we can come up with some other styles of roof, maybe, or something cool. People have been doing a lot of funny and very interesting things with the cushions so far. It never ceases to amaze me the ways people come up to play games. You know, you just there's always someone coming up with something new, even with something brand new like the cushions. Especially with Minecraft specifically. It's just such a canvas for people. I think that's part of the reason the game draws me in so much, of course. There's really no one set way to play it. Of course, there are rules and things you have to learn about the game, and but as far as the gameplay itself and what you want to accomplish with the game, or even what you ultimately do with the in-game assets and resources provided to you, is pretty open-ended, and I enjoy that. I love that you can flop between a kind of more serious and focused survival playthrough where you're really trying to be goal oriented, and then you can kind of hop over to a creative playthrough and just turn it into essentially a paint, you know, like a painting, a piece of art, if you want it to be that. Or you can be ridiculous. You can build something ridiculous. You can come up with different ways to get yourself across the maps. Like I've been seeing people use the cushions essentially as mine carts, and it seems like they're actually faster and more efficient for travel than mine carts, which I don't be very surprised if Mojang intended that, but that's the end result. That's what people do with games when they're given the ability to experiment. And I think there's something beautiful about that. So, all that to say, does not happen with this particular build, but I definitely think as we progress farther along with my plans for this forest village, I think I will definitely be incorporating the cushions in as many ways as I can personally think up or come across myself online, because I have been seeing some very funny videos so far. The Minecraft community just it's always entertaining me. It's funny to be a part of it on the other side now to a degree. There's this one spot on the roof that's giving me trouble here that I can't quite seem to fill in. And again, I think it's the result of my building shape here, but I think we're going to be able to figure it out without having to alter the shape of the house itself. Just this one little spot. Can't fill that opening right there. Just something with the way it ended up being laid out right there. Sometimes you just gotta put a square cube on it, you know? Sometimes it doesn't need to look fancy. It just needs to fill the hole. Just needs to fill the space so that there's nothing getting in. Yeah, this part right here is already looking... It's gonna look cool in the end, but it is just a mess of angles and corners and... it's funny. But we're gonna get there, folks. We're gonna get there. We're gonna put a roof on this house. That hopefully doesn't look like a chaotic mess. And ends up looking cool with some layers. That's another thing I underestimated early in my Minecraft playing right there is taking out corners. Making the edges look a little bit, you know, cutting out the edges a little bit. Definitely underestimated that. Sometimes it really makes the design, when you're just looking at it, you're like, something doesn't look right. Take out that little edge piece. Maybe it'll make it look sharper. And not to sound like too much of a broken record, but I am just so happy with this forest that we found. I'm not gonna lie and say when I was a little bit underwhelmed the size of that first dappled forest. You know, I'm glad that I was able to find a world that had that at spawn, so I could just get an initial feel for how the biome looks, but that was just a little too small. So I'm really glad that I ended up taking the world seed and putting it into a map and kind of looking a little bit further out. Because, you know, there's something to be said about the natural, organic exploration of a Minecraft world, even in creative mode. But in this case, there was just a specific feel that I wanted, and I wanted the forest to be just a little bit bigger. So I think it was completely okay to cheat a little bit, if you will, even though we are in creative mode, and find my ideal forest, because I just love the way that this collides with the cherry blossom and the snowy mountains. I just think it's really cool. This is some top-notch world generation from Minecraft. And again, if they're looking for opinions and reviews of the Dappled Forest biome, I gotta say I am a fan. And I hope it sticks around for a long time. I'm not sure how I'd feel personally if I walked into a house in real life and saw a roof that looked like, or a ceiling that looked like that when I looked up. But let's just call it abstract architecture. Outside of the box thinking. I think it looks cool. Yeah, it's okay. Looks like we're almost done with this roof. There was a few moments where I definitely wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull together a cohesive shape. Maybe there's an argument to be made that I still didn't pull together a cohesive shape, but again, I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm just happy that I'm just learning more about building in Minecraft and challenging myself creatively, and not just sticking to a little simple little box. Yeah, no, I'm very happy with that. That looks good. Maybe take that. Yep, see? Something to be said about just taking a corner out every once in a while. Sometimes it just brings the shape together when it doesn't look right. Sometimes the symmetry is hard to achieve. Sometimes you have to stretch it a little bit to make it look like it's symmetrical. But in the end, it comes together. So soon my forest kind of mansion, I don't know if you can call this a mansion, my large forest home will be completed. And looking at the length of this episode, we probably won't be getting to any of the other village quite yet. But I think on the next episode, that is what our focus will be, is seeing how we want our village to be laid out amongst this forest. Definitely don't think I'm going to try and turn it into a large metroplex or anything like that. It's definitely going to be, again, keeping with the aesthetic of the forest itself and being built into the forest. It's going to have a more rural feel to it. But I think it's going to be pretty fun. Then I have to decide if I want the village to have a uniform look to it, or if I want each house to kind of be a unique design that has a similar, visual language to it. It's going to make sense next to each other and with the forest, but I kind of like the idea of each house having its own personality, so to speak, if you will, and that would kind of give us something cool to build each episode instead of just building, 10 or so of the same little house for the villagers. Maybe give them something all a little unique and special. Something fun to build, too. So we'll see what the end result of that is. But I think that's what the idea I'm going for initially is I want each I want each house in this village, this forest village, to have its own personality and identity. Well, everyone, it looks like we've done it. It might not be perfect in every spot, it might not be visually pleasing to everyone, but I personally am happy with it. Wow, I think that roof actually looks really cool. I don't think that was my intended design, as is the case with most of my builds, but wow, that ended up, yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot. So, barring any aesthetic details, which will definitely be added later, for all intents and purposes, this house is done. Now we can go through and again, I don't do it in this particular episode, so we'll have to circle back and do it, but we can go now and kind of add some aesthetic touches and make it look more like a home. First, we got to light it up a little bit. Yeah, and I think I am very, very happy with the warped stem as the as one of the wood choices for this. I think it definitely lends to the creepy vibe mixed with the comfiness and the coziness. Yeah, this is cozy and creepy for sure. I like this a lot. Now, why did I decide to mess with this spot again? I don't know. Sometimes I like to second guess myself, make it difficult. But let's go fix that really quick. There we go. Sometimes you just click the wrong block. You just tap on the wrong block and it almost ruins the build. But then you go back and fix it and it's okay. But yeah, circling back to my other thought, I am very happy with the warp stem mixed with the poplar wood. I think it definitely lends to the cozy and creepy vibe that I was looking to achieve, and that on the interior, it looks really cool. This is cool. It almost feels like it should be like the home of like a forest wizard or a witch or something. It's got an inherent supernatural vibe to it, that's for sure. This is good. This is a good first build for our forest village. I guess I'm gonna have to think of a name for this village. I'll have to start thinking about that. And maybe if this series gets picked up on the algorithm, some people can chime in with their opinions on that as well. But we will definitely have to think of a cool name for this place. In fact, I'm so partial to naming things, I'll probably come up with a name for this house specifically. Some sort of manor. That's what it is. It's not a mansion, it's a manor. Larger than the average house, but not quite a mansion. I don't know if that's the definition of a manor, but that's what I'm going to call this. This is a manor. Our woodland forest manor. Slightly creepy, very cozy. And I know I said I wasn't going to be really doing the aesthetic details in this episode, mainly due to the length that we're at so far, but hey, a house has got to have windows, right? So we're going to slap some windows on here. And then later on, we'll circle back for some other details. Yep, I think blue's going to match that perfectly. Let's put some windows on this place and start to wind down this episode for now. Now the trick is going to be finding out the best way to place some windows. Again, due to half of the building being a non-traditional shape. Some parts can be panes, other parts can be cubes. But I think the blue glass is going to be the ideal choice for this. I did orange glass on my camp I did in the first forest that we spawned in. But since I chose the warped stem for this house, we're going to go blue glass. Yep, all around, I am pretty happy with this house, this manor that we've built here. Yeah, no, that warp stem looks really, really cool, contrasted with the poplar wood. And again, other people might have different opinions, but I am happy with that decision. And I am happy with the roof, and I am loving our forest. So from here, we can now Obviously, we'll have to go in and add some aesthetic details, like a bed and a few other things. Make this manor more of a home rather than an empty building. But from here, we can now expand our village and start to think about our houses that we're going to build here for this civilization that we're kind of building out. We have a lot of potential, a lot of things we can do. I'm very excited about experimenting with the cushions a little bit more. And again, I sincerely hope that this biome is not going anywhere. I really love this dappled forest. I think I mentioned before, but mods on Java have been something that have kind of eluded me so far. It's been, for whatever reason, a little bit of a task for me to figure out the best way to get them to work. But the inspiration for this particular series definitely came from the librarian with his Minecraft creative Let's Play. That was kind of going for similar vibes. I might have to do a little bit of research on some of the mods that the librarian was using, and maybe some other mods that would fit this aesthetic, because I don't know, I'd kind of like to have some other blocks in there that we could experiment with that aren't from the vanilla game, or maybe even have some ambiance that we could add to lend to our cozy and creepy vibe that we want to make here. But so far, this is great. I'm very happy with this. This forest is beautiful. I can't wait to see what kind of houses we come up with and to make our village bigger. And if you made it this far in the video, I very much appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, maybe consider giving it a like. Maybe consider commenting on it. Give me your thoughts on it. Give me some ideas. And then if you like what we're doing here and you want to see this village be built out, maybe consider subscribing to my channel. Help a small creator out. Any sort of support and engagement is, of course, appreciated. And again, if you watched this far in the video, I very much appreciate you. And I hope that you enjoy this ride that we're going along. And I hope this village is as magical as I intend it to be. I think for now I'll sign off and let my last little bit of gameplay finish out. But again, this has been Big Al with Forest Craft, Cozy and Creepy. And I thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.